Hey everyone, it's your spiritual big brother. Welcome back. Thanks for joining me here today. So, I want to talk about two different things on this one. First, I want to talk about what this channel is all about. It's been evolving as I've went along here. There's a great mission involved, the brand, that kind of stuff. That's going to be the first part. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And then after that, I want to kind of share with you guys my bigger picture of what God is, how to find God, and that kind of, the reason that I'm bringing that up is because I've had a person that is very close to me just starting to go through some really hard times in their lives. And they've asked me 2 or 3 times now about God. How did I find God? What does God look like to me? Where should I start? Those kind of questions. And they've really appreciated the advice that I've given them. So I kind of want to share that with you guys now, since that voice and that thing has kind of like ripened quite a bit. Okay, but let's start with talking about the channel. I'm going to try to keep this kind of short and packed. It's kind of evolving still, but this channel is all about integrating the things that matter most to all of us, whether or not we're talking about spirituality, life or life lessons, or psychology, the things that kind of hold us back, and kind of just giving you guys examples or experiences that you can apply almost instantly in your life or see it in a different way. And everything that I'm going to share with you is going to be from experiences that I've had in my own life, 3 decades worth of them. I mean, great stuff. I've been recording them. I've been writing them down. I've been sharing them with other people for many, many years. And now I'm finally doing that on a kind of a bigger stage for everybody. And so that's the kind of stuff we're going to have here, but it's going to be more integrated. I'm trying to integrate this within the system we live in, okay? I've been a little bit of a rebel. I've been a spiritual burnout. I've been outside of religion, and I've also been inside of religion. I've been outside of school in the classroom, and I've been inside of school in the classroom. I've been in the workforce, and I've been outside of the workforce, being my own business, being my own man. So I'm kind of trying to find an in-between ground that works for everybody, okay? Doesn't matter if you're a CEO. Doesn't matter if you're a guy out on the floor throwing shipping packages or whatever. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter if you consider yourself highly advanced in spirituality, and it doesn't matter if you're just starting. It doesn't matter if you're just beginning your life or you feel like you've seen it all and everything like that. This channel is for all of you, okay? It really is. And so you're going to get a lot out of this, but I want everybody to understand that the whole purpose here is to make you able, not make, but help you be able to live in the system that you live in, which is, in America, in this system that we all live in. I'm trying to make it easier for you to find peace, find joy, find happiness, find meaning in your life, find God. Do all the stuff that I think genuinely matters to the human being, to the human soul. That means finding beauty, expression of what it means to be you, finding your true self, your inner self, who you are. That is what this channel is all about. So that's what we're going to do. I'm not here to do battle against systems. I'm not here to try to take control of anything. I'm not here for power. I don't care about any of that stuff. I don't care about materialism or anything like that. I care enough about it that, I understand that there is a certain degree of like, I like jewelry. I like gems. I like gold. It shines. It looks pretty. But like, do I need to hoard that? Does that need to be something that I am, to the point where I'm overly greedy and like trying to hoard stuff? No, I just appreciate it. Just like I appreciate natural beauty and being in nature, I appreciate a good-looking gemstone too. So do you see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not, it doesn't control me. The invisible things that spirituality talk about that hold us all back, those things don't control me, and I'm going to help you guys figure out ways that it won't control you anymore in a way that you can balance the two, okay? I deal with paradoxes, and I've always been doing that. I work on a little bit of a deeper level, and I always have. And I've been very fortunate in my lifetime that people have allowed me to do that, and they appreciate it. And finally, my voice is nice and ripe, and I want to share that with everybody else. But I'm going to do it from the ground. I am not some guru on a mountaintop. I am not some scholar in an ivory tower. I want to meet you guys all where you're at, where I was at many, many years ago when I wish I had a teacher like me in my life to do these things. Okay, let's get into it. So, let's talk about God here. Let's talk about this. I'm going to call this one the way that I've painted God. This is kind of the way that I see him. This is me after I've put a lot of the pieces together. And I feel like it's a mosaic that kind of never stops being put together, but it starts to get more focused. You start to see the picture that works best for you. And I want to be clear before I start kind of diving into my version of it. This is just the way that I see it. I expect you to have your own version. I expect you to take on your own beliefs, subscribe to the things that you like, and I am more than happy. I am here to give you a piece of me. So take it if you like it, or change it a little bit, make it fit your puzzle, or go look, for yourself. Does this make sense? Is what he's saying, does this match the religion or spirituality that I'm in? Does this make sense to me? Do I feel like this is it? I want you to consider all that stuff when you hear my stuff. I don't want you to just blindly just take what I have. I never did that. And so when I come to you, I bring you the truths that are my truths. Okay, these are what makes sense to me. And if I do it well enough, I think truths are very universal. But I feel like you need to work through and figure out what those truths are. And then I think a lot of other people can see that truth, can feel that truth, can know it in their soul that, hey, I'm hearing a truth. And so it's up to you, ultimately. But if I do a good enough job, I have a feeling some of this stuff's going to rub off on you and you're going to like it. So that being said, let's talk about it. Let's jump into this. So let's talk about God here. Let's talk about kind of what in my opinion the spiritual path kind of looks like for nearly anybody. And I think that there's really two different pathways for people. There's one for people that are driven, ambitious. There's one for, let's say you want to be an Elon Musk or I don't know, a Donald Trump. All right, so I just wanted to add in a little bit of context here. So I'm not really sure at this point how well Elon Musk and Donald Trump are going to be aging at this point. I know that they can be a little bit controversial in the media, and when I recorded this as compared to when I'm kind of going back over it, it's giving me some second thoughts here. So maybe those guys don't rub you the right way, but maybe you want to be like a Van Gogh or a Leonardo da Vinci or like a Mahatma Gandhi or an Alan Watts or something like that. All right, let's jump back into it. There's one where you're trying to refine yourself, be about as perfect as you can be, find your true highest self. There's one road for that, in my opinion. And that road may divert too, but one bigger lane, highway, whatever. There's one way for that. Call yourself the entrepreneur, call yourself the creator, the creative, but you want to refine your skills, you want to be perfect, you want to create something. There's something, there's a mission or something that you have, okay? There's one road for that. And that one is full of suffering because you're going to have, both roads are full of suffering, but this one is full of like the highest levels of suffering that you're going to have as a human being. That's why a lot of people fail on this road, or they give up, or they get tired, or they sell out. Okay? So that's one road. The other road is for the people that are just simple. You want to understand God. You want to have a picture of God. You want a reason to believe. And that's kind of it, right? You're okay with being told what God looks like. And that's okay too. Listen, I need people to understand here that whoever's listening to this, you're already naturally going to gravitate to one of these. So you're actually going to see the other one as maybe as opposition, which you shouldn't. You just need to understand there's two different types of people that walk these roads, and they look a little bit different for each of us. You just need to accept that, and go out there and check for yourself. You know what I mean? This took me 3 decades to kind of really see it this way. But so for me, I kind of went down the creator's path / entrepreneur / everything. I have had a high level of suffering, okay, along the whole road. I had a lot of confusion at first, which I think is true for both. I think both at the bottom, we're both in the same place, right? Whether or not you're a creator, whether or not you're just a guy that just wants to find God. I think at the beginning of that, I think that there is confusion. Like, you don't know where to look, right? You don't know what God looks like. Do you believe in it? Don't you? You're kind of playing this back and forth. Sometimes you get kicked on, sometimes you don't. Who do I trust? Where should I turn to? Who should I talk to? What book should I read? That kind of stuff. I think everybody gets there, or everybody starts there. And if I'm being honest, a lot of people stay there, and it's not their fault. And I get that, okay? It's really easy to see once you've kind of found God on your own terms. You're just like, oh, okay, I was stuck there one time too. And you hear a lot of people's arguments and like where they got stuck and lost. And you've heard it so many times that you're like, oh, okay, I was there too at one point. So, a lot of people stay here, and it's not their fault. But so what kind of happens here is you kind of got to start finding him. And that's what's called seeking, or getting on the path, as a lot of religions like to call that in some way, or your journey, your spiritual journey. Okay? Now, once you get on that, these things start to clear up. Okay? You've tried a book or two. Maybe you've started reading the Bible, or maybe you started reading the Tao Te Ching, something from Eastern or Western thoughts. And you've tried it, okay? And you kind of get an idea of what's going on. You've checked YouTube for other resources, like what do they think of it? You bounce your ideas off other communities, or whatever that looks like to you. It's a little bit different for everybody. I'm just giving you guys even suggestions, really. But, you're starting to kind of get rid of that chaos and that confusion. And you're like, okay, I kind of like this. This sounded right. Okay, you're taking pieces from over here. Okay, I'm starting to get a picture here. And then you're on the path, right? Now that's where the road diverts. Who are you? You need to kind of have an idea of who you are at some point. Am I more, I want to go down this road here, which is really, really hard. It's why a lot of people fail on this road. It's hard. It's very hard. I'm speaking from experience. It is a hard road when you want to be an entrepreneur / creator / anything that's extremely ambitious. You want to chase your true highest self, anything like that. This road is hard. I am not going to lie to you. You get on this road, expect suffering, expect hard suffering, but ones that will give you great rewards, will shape you into the best version of yourself possible, and will give you invisible lessons that scale. They keep scaling, right? You'll learn it when it's easy, right? When, it's obvious, like, oh, this is about control. Oh, this is about boundaries. I need to learn discernment, and I need to be more wise and strategic. I need to know that people will burn me, if I'm not careful. And, but there's a time to be a good person too, and be more honest, and have integrity. And I think you should have that all along the way. But I also think you should realize that not everybody's great out there. Some people get stuck on this road, and they're at the beginning. They haven't made it all the way up to the top where they can be fully honest and, express themselves in the best way possible. Meaning you've reached your highest self. Or I don't think you ever really reach that, but I think you get to the apex of that. And then after that, you're just always on that road. You're always trying. You're always reading more books. You're always developing your language and voice more. But you get to a point where you really know who you are. And then that's kind of where you've not necessarily reached it. As I said, you keep going. This is a continuous journey. But you get to a point where you feel really good about yourself and you know you're doing the right thing. So that's one road for people. The other road for people is over here, the one that I'm talking about. Just you're a simple person. You're not too complex. You're just seeking God. You just want to feel God. You want to talk to God. You want to be able to build a relationship with God. You want to trust that God has your best interests. And again, I think that these apply along the road both, okay? I'm going to do my best to kind of say that, but I think that there's just a simpler way to understand it. And there's a little bit more complex way to understand it too. So kind of to know what to expect and what to look for on the road that you're on, and to take away some of that confusion that happens down here at the beginning. But this is kind of just, you want to believe in something, right? You want to believe in something more than what's here. And that's just a noble way to go. And I know a lot of people that do that. I think a majority of people would prefer this road. These are the people that maybe at some point just said, hey, I just want to get through life. I just want to live. I want to have a family. And I like my community and that kind of stuff. And I'm not looking to become anything, great or anything like that. I'm happy with where I am. And so there's just two different roads for that. Okay. And I think I've done a pretty good job of explaining that, as far as like what the differences are. Decide for yourself. Where do you belong? And you're free. I mean, you are free to decide for yourself, and you can go this road and then decide sometime you want to maybe go over this way. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's up to you, but just understand that there's probably two distinct ways to kind of see it, and what's involved there. And this one over here that I was talking about with that spiral, I think that that's an important thing. You don't necessarily, in my opinion, have as great of a suffering, or you know, you're kind of living more in comfort, I guess. But over here, don't expect to live in comfort. At some point, you may get some peace and comfort along the way too. And I think once you start really building who you are, I think you finally reach that level of comfort that you get here. But this way is kind of all along the way, it's just a comfortable road. This way, it's really suffering and choppy at first for a long time, okay? Unless you have not such an ambitious goal. Maybe your goal is just not that great. It might be great for you. I'm just saying though, like, let's say, you know, there's a difference between wanting to change the world and, you know, wanting to start a business, which is both noble. They're both great goals. You decide for yourself. But you see what I'm saying? Like, one is, you know, I want to do everything. You know, I really care. And it's like, it's a huge, ambitious goal. There's definitely a level of that. So, but what I was saying about this one is you're on a spiral here, okay? Your initial lessons, they're going to be obvious. They're going to be easy at first. They're going to be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. This is great. I learned this lesson. Thank you, God. Thanks for showing this to me. Thank you for showing me this invisible thing that's holding me back. Thank you for showing this thing that's hurting me in some way or creating suffering in my life. Thank you for giving me suffering so that I can see the suffering that's in my life and learn how to be emotionally prepared for that. Learn how to be more wiser and make better decisions so that I don't keep repeating that suffering. Okay, that's what this road's about. That's the reward too. And if I'm being honest, your reward is more than that. Not just seeing that and evolving and spiritually growing every time you get those, but you get rewards that you won't see beyond that. Like, it's going to make you more confident. It's going to do so many different things for you that it's worth the reward of figuring these things out and truly learning the lesson and applying the lesson, making sure that it's sustainable. You know what I mean? And sometimes you got to kind of keep reminding yourself of that stuff. That's a part that's built into it. I've forgotten many of my hardest lessons and I've had to relearn them, you know? So it's okay to do that. That's part of being human. And you're always, that's why these lessons keep repeating and people get so frustrated. Haven't I learned? You know, why does this keep coming back? Why is this harder this time? You know, because it's supposed to challenge you. It's supposed to refine you. It's supposed to remind you when you get off track. So that spiral, you're going to keep getting that with a lot of different cycles of suffering that are things that you need to learn. Whether or not that be patterns of control, whether or not that be overindulgence, whether or not that be greed, whether or not that be placing boundaries on things that, you know, are taking your energy or your value or your time. You know, it's going to be easy at first, but every time, and each one of these level up differently. One you may be just learning for the first time. Another one you may be very good at and you already understand pretty well. And it's going to be much higher level of suffering to help you see it more clearly. Until you learn it, you're going to suffer. That's just the way it is. That's part of being a human being. Once you can accept that, it's going to make this road easier. And in all honesty, even on this road, you're going to get your own quality of that too. But it's just going to be more manageable, more comfortable, and just easier to navigate. So nothing wrong with this road, guys. I don't want to make this like this is some high glory road. In fact, I don't. We're both human beings on both of these roads. I want to remind people of that too. Don't think that you're any more special on this road than you are over here. That's your ego talking, okay? That's why you need to learn death of ego on this road too, so that you can be more human, so that you can really appreciate people and really genuinely serve and help people. That's the whole point of all of this, helping people. Helping others find God, helping others do whatever your greatest ambition was supposed to be when it was truly, you know, when it meant something to you, when you were in that. This road is usually so long and challenging, you forget who you were and who you started with. And that's okay. That's what we like to call selling out. And nearly everybody sells out because this road's so challenging and hard for people. Stick to it. I promise you it's worth seeing yourself through on this road. It's also worth seeing yourself through on this road too. Again, nothing wrong with either of those roads I have found, and I've talked to people. There are great people on both of those roads. Don't think like this is the only pathway to greatness. There's plenty of greatness over here, and this is necessary too. Believe me, we need everybody. We're all on the same team out here in this world. We're all just trying to help each other. And I like to think of this like a football team. I think I've mentioned this before. There's a different flavor of everybody on a football team, whether or not they're emo or geeks, whether or not they're real jocks, whether or not they're bullies or dickheads. It really doesn't matter. There's a good mix. There's intellectuals in there too. So that's what I see the world as. It's like we're all on this big same team. We don't have to like everybody. We don't have to hang out with everybody. We just got to all realize we're all trying to get to the same goal. We all want to win out here. And that's what it's all about. Now, that also means be wise. If a guy's a dickhead, the guy's a dickhead, okay? You don't have to deal with him. You don't have to be a part of his life. Appreciate him for who he is. Just know he's serving some other purpose somewhere else that's probably helping the whole world in some other way that maybe you'll never understand, and that's okay. Leave him over there. Forget about him, whatever. So find the people that you like working with and such. So I think that that's important here. That's why I'm saying, like, it doesn't matter where you are, which pathway you're on. Both are important. Both are necessary. And, do your best out there on that. Okay, so that's how I like to see the pathway to God. And let me put it to you this way. As soon as you start seeking God, doesn't matter if you're confused down here or not, as soon as you start seeking him, God will meet you halfway. And more than that, for that matter. As soon as you say in your mind, you plant the seed that, hey, I want to find God, God hears you instantly. And God actually has been trying to reach you this, even before you even thought that way. But now that you're in line with that, now you're going to start to see God's signs. You're going to start to see him showing up in your life more. And it's going to be a slow progression. At first, you're not really going to notice it much. But you'll actually be more aware. You'll be actually looking for those clues. You may start to see some signs and symbols and synchronicities. You'll start to see things as less of coincidental, and you'll start to see them as divine signals for you. Okay, that's when things really start to get magical for you, and you're really going to start to find God. And so when you decide to start seeking God, God meets you halfway, like I was saying. And so what do I mean by that? What does that kind of look like? How does that, what does that mean exactly? So that means that as soon as you start putting effort in, even the smallest bit of effort, just you thinking about it is effort, okay? And then whatever you do beyond that is more effort. It's the work that's involved. It's learning how to walk in faith, taking the leap of faith, and and learning how to believe even though you can't see the results, right? The unknowing, just trusting the path that you're walking and that God's got your best interests in mind, and he's trying to help you help him, find him. And so that's kind of the path that everybody starts walking. And again, God will meet you halfway. Every effort you put in, God's going to put in an effort too. And I promise you, that is so true. It's not even funny. So just believe that. That's one of the things that I'm going to ask you to consider and hopefully subscribe to, because I really, really believe it. And I think that I have seen that written in a lot of different places in more or less similar words. But any effort that you put in, I have seen this in my own experience. I believe it. Anything you do, he's going to try to reach you. But the thing where people get stuck here is they want to see God, or the way that he communicates, or the way that he interprets with you, in the way that you've found in all of your experience. You're going to have some idea in your head of how you want God to respond to you, how you want to see God. And that's like trying to control something, right? You're trying to visualize him in the way that works for you. But that's not necessarily God, right? God is its own thing. That's like seeing another person and saying, I expect you or want you to be this way. But we know every person's a little bit more unique and different than all of us. And I'm not trying to put God into a human form. I'm trying to help you kind of see how to kind of break away from that way of thinking, so that you can allow God to come into you, or feel God, or experience God, or communicate God in a different way than the way that maybe you're more confused and not really sure of where to go, or maybe you just see him as another human being. And I'll say this much too, that's not a bad thing, but understand that he's not necessarily, to an extent, going to communicate with you as a human being. There's not just going to be some person that comes to you, and maybe there will be too, right? I think God works through people. I think God works through the environment. I think God works through nature. I think God works through his creatures. I think God works through the sun shining on my face right now, through the wind, through the environment. I think God is everything. He's the energy. He's all of that. And he's so much more than that too, right? He's infinitely wise, and we'll never fully understand him. And I really do believe that he's infinitely wise. And we can only bring him into such a picture, but I even think he goes beyond that anyways. So keep that in mind. And the way that he communicates could be through the breeze, could be through some book that opens up to the perfect page, or maybe some song that comes on the radio at just the right time when you needed a sign. Maybe it's some blue jay or cardinal that comes in right when you were losing hope, or maybe right when you needed a sign or symbol or something like that. God will communicate with you in a lot of different ways. Let's talk about what a relationship with God looks like, okay? In my opinion. Now, this is the relationship that I've built, and I think that this is the way that they tried to explain it, but I haven't quite heard it put this way. But this is the way that I like to see it, and this is what works for me. So maybe take it just the way that I have it, or refine this a little bit, or find your own way. But just know that I think it's an important piece, and that happens when you start building faith, you start to believe that God exists, you're on that pathway. The way that I like to look at God and the relationship, and the way that I communicate and build that relationship, I like to, and I know just a second ago I said don't necessarily see him as just strictly a human being, but you can certainly see him that way to an extent, but know that he's beyond that too. But when it comes to a relationship, in my opinion, I like to see him as a human being, and I like to communicate with him like he's my best friend. I mean, your best friend. How would you show up with your family? How would you show up with your best friend? How would you show up with people you love? Okay, consider that. And that's how I want you to kind of approach God, or the way that I approach God. Let me put you that way. I'm not saying that you should do that too. Well, I'm not saying that you shouldn't either. Give it a try and see if you like it. But the way that you kind of show up, and the way that you feel, and the way that you bring that energy, and the way that some days you're off, you're not feeling good, right? Talk to God the way that you would talk to your best friend. Hey God, when you're praying or anything like that, or even when you're just walking down the street and you're struggling, or you want to talk to God. Maybe you're just in a good mood and you want to tell God how much you appreciate things and you're grateful for everything. God can handle you in all of you. I mean, at your worst, at your best. And God will take you for who you are. You're a human being. God created all of us. God created everything you see out here. So, don't think he can't handle you at your worst, or handle you at your most sad, or handle you when you're frustrated and you're yelling at the sky and you're angry. But my opinion is it's a relationship. So that means forgive yourself and ask for God's forgiveness too. Hey God, I wasn't feeling myself the other day. I'm sorry for those mean words I said, this, that, and the other. You're building a relationship just like you'd be rebuilding one with somebody you love or care about. I like to see God that way. That's how I built a relationship. And I feel like my bond with God has gotten way stronger because of that. Because I'm just trying to be human and connect with him. And that's how I see it. So I think that that's a great way to kind of see it, a great way to pray. And you can also add things into your prayers, right? I like to see it as like a ritual that you go through. You're talking about all the things that matter to you in your life. You can say a prayer if you want to say the Lord's Prayer, or you want to say some other prayer. You can go through the motions of that and do it the way that you want to do. Ask for forgiveness. Forgive yourself. Ask God to guide you. That means that you're going to put the work in, okay? You're not just going to ask God to just solve your problems for you, right? It's a two-way street. He'll help you. He'll give you the right things. He'll put the right people in front of your path. He'll throw some movie on that gives you the answer to your prayer that you were looking for. He will give you signs, symbols, and everything like that. But that also means you need to put some kind of effort forward. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need to put yourself in a position to get those, and that's work. And people don't like to hear that. It's not like work that'll just gonna burn you out. But it'll be sometimes you might be scared to do some things, or you might be like, man, I really don't want to do that today. You got to show up every day. And I'm not saying you got to show up like a saint or a preacher or whatever. You just got to show up and really want to be the best version of yourself every day. And I like to think of myself wanting to be a better person, just 1% better every single day. And that helps me stay on track. That's not saying, hey, I need to make huge leaps and be the best person today, because I don't think that that's sustainable, right? Maybe you can do that one day. Maybe you can do that for a week straight. But eventually I think you're going to start burning out, and then you're going to go all the way back on the other way and kind of fall back into who you are. I think you just need to be 1% better, or try to be. And also, if you don't quite meet that goal every day, that's okay. You know what I mean? People get so stuck. Oh man, it wasn't 1% better than yesterday, and they get so hard on themselves and whatnot. Okay, I think you hear what I'm saying. That's what I think about a relationship with God. Let's talk about God, the way that I like to see him. I really like to see God in the way that he tries to keep seeking everybody or being there. I like to see him as an unconditional parent of yours, okay? One that loves you no matter what, okay? No matter what you do, no matter what mistakes you make, no matter what you've done. And I'm talking anything at all. But I like to think that it's unconditional. He's going to love you regardless. He's always going to want the best for you. And he's going to stick by your side even when you're not being the best person you can possibly be. Now, I want to be clear here. That is not permission to just make mistakes and just think that you can do whatever you want. God's always going to be there for you. Because I think a part of this is a two-part system. That is God for sure. But that also means that you're walking away from God when you're doing that, okay? You're not trying to be the best person you are. You're looking at that as permission to do whatever you want, to be a bad person, to make mistakes. And I'm not suggesting that you do that. I'm suggesting that mistakes are human. I'm suggesting that you will have flaws. I'm suggesting that we're all imperfect human beings. And what I'm saying by that is it's okay to make mistakes. That's part of being human. But you should learn from them. And you should grow from them. And sometimes it might happen more than once where you'll keep making the same mistake over and over again. So I think you need to be a little bit harder on yourself every time. Hold yourself a little bit more accountable. Be a little bit more disciplined. Be a little bit more responsible next time. Learn discernment. I can go on and on and on, but you hear what I'm saying. It's not permission to keep making mistakes. It's permission that when you make a mistake, you learn from it, you grow from it, you heal from it, and you move on. And God will help you with that. So that's what I'm saying. That's one way that, again, I like to see God. He's always there. He's always trying to nudge you in the direction of becoming a better person, a better servant, to help people. And being a servant isn't a bad thing. I know some people think of that like you're being a slave, but I like to think of that as serving. I mean, the big guy up top. I mean, what a great way to be out here, because you're not necessarily being God, but you're acting as if God was here. You're acting in God. And that's a beautiful place to be. When you serve God, you're acting as if you, and it's hard to say this because people are going to look at this in an egotistical way, and I don't want you to see this in an egotistical way. Like, man, I'm better than everybody else. I am God down here. I'd like to add just a little bit of clarity here for everybody. What I really mean here is it's something that I like to call the chosen one syndrome. And I want to be careful with this. And here's why. Because what I found when this was kind of happening to me is this was actually a really, really great stage or phase of my spiritual growth that was magical. I don't know how to say it any better than that. It was a really enjoyable stage. But at some point, and I'm not trying to take this away from anybody, I say enjoy this stage, enjoy this phase, but there's a transition. There is a transcension to be done here. And that's when you kind of remove the ego. And this is one of those stages that for me, if I'm going to be real honest with you, it kind of sucked a little bit. It really did. And it took me more than once to see it, sit with it, find the perspective, and really acknowledge it and move on from it. I think a lot of us feel that specialness. Like we feel like, man, finally I've done all the inner work. Finally I've gotten somewhere. And it turns you on in a way that like makes you feel better. It just does. And in the literal sense, like it actually makes you feel better. I'm not just saying like a better person, like egotistically speaking, like, oh man, I am better than other people. I'm saying that it's almost like a healing way. Like you feel better and you have this radiating energy. It's like leveling up in life and your energy and your energetic field. So that's what I'm talking about. That's why it's a really great stage. But when that kind of cools off a little bit, the magic kind of goes a little bit. So that's what I'm really trying to say here. And I don't mean to steal anybody's thunder. If you haven't gotten there yet, enjoy this phase. It's a great phase. But also, you're getting some insight ahead of time that you shouldn't stay there forever. It's not the place you're supposed to remain. And I know that that kind of might rub you a little bit wrong, because what I'm not trying to do is make you miss out on the journey. There's a journey here. There's a spiritual pathway that you're taking, and it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of refinement, and it's hard earned when you make it here. This is like a huge. This is like hitting the peak finally of your spiritual development. There's more work to be done. It's a continuous journey, but when you make it to this pinnacle, this is like one of the best places to finally be. Just be careful. That's all I'm saying. It's easy to see this like you're way better than people. I've been there and I had to struggle with this more than one time. That's our human nature. That's kind of a byproduct of the culture too. We want to feel special. Okay, we all do. We want to feel unique. And when we get here, it's almost like validating that uniqueness for us. So I'm not trying to take this away from you again, guys. I know I mentioned this a couple times, but it's really important that you kind of understand where to go from here. You know what I mean? You're standing on finally some solid ground. You finally kind of gotten some proof, and you finally have made it to a place that's really, really beautiful. But just don't get suckered into the, I am the chosen one. I am better than other people. Let me go out there and push my beliefs on other people. That's not what it's all about. And I think you hearing me say that right now kind of just makes that more of a reality. So just be careful, as I'm saying. Enjoy it when you get here. Give yourself a pat on the back too. This is a great place to be. Okay, let's keep going. We are both human and divine. All of us, okay? All of us. Some of us get lost. Some of us don't realize that. Some of us are all on our different spiritual pathways, but eventually you need to get rid of that specialness. I'm better. I'm down here serving justice, and get rid of that. That is not what I'm talking about here. When I say that you should come down here, what I think you should do is you're like God's advocate, right? You're down here as if it was God, and you're trying to help the way that you think a great God would do that. And I'm not talking, God's got many different versions. If you read the Bible, you'll see that he's wrathful sometimes, he's this, that, and the other. But I think that that's a range of our emotions too, right? I think that they're just different ways of seeing the different sides of God. But I really think that there's one that I think we all want or need or like to live within, that gives us peace, happiness, everything that we're looking for in a very sustainable way. And I think that that's the one that should be walking down here largely. But I also think that there's a place for that, right? We need structure as much as we need unstructured. We need creation as much as we need things to fall apart too. This one might not be perfect for everybody, and check out some of my own videos or go seek this one for yourself. But we need not necessarily war. I don't like to think of people dying as a thing that we need, or hurting other people. But I think we need at least that presence or that pressure so that other nations don't bully us, as much as we need peace too. I think that there's a balance there, and I find that to be true with a lot of different things. And I know that might rub some people the wrong way. It took me over 3 decades to come to a resolution on that and to really see it deeply, that there is a place for that. I mean, if you really think about it, other nations, they want power too. They want to take control of things. If we're just here, just being peaceful and, you know, love everything, being very hippie-like, that's how you get controlled by other powers. That is how people come in here and take control, and you know, then it becomes the exact opposite of what you all want. And I really do believe that there is a balance to be struck. I also, I don't want to see people getting hurt, but sometimes there's bad people out there. They're genuinely bad. They want to be bad. They don't want to be better. I don't think you can, you know, I think maybe they need to be thrown in prison for a while, maybe not necessarily hurt, but at least taken away from hurting other people. So, you know, you need to really be able to balance that. And I'll let you guys decide for yourself on that one. You don't have to subscribe to that belief. But like I was saying, I like to see God as unconditional. He's always going to be there. He's waiting for you, just like your parents are when you know, when you run away from a while, you don't like the way things are. And, you know, you get your little wagon and you've got your little tiny, you know, you've packed just one set of clothes, you know, when you're a kid and you want to run away. I feel like that's God too. That's your parents waiting for you to come home. Allowing you to go out there, make your mistakes, learn that God really is, you know, unconditionally loving. He's always accepting no matter what you've done. He wants you to grow. He wants you to learn. He wants you to figure things out for yourself, but he's always there to help you. He always wants to be a part of you. And, you know, so it's finding that part of God, in my opinion. God is everything that they say he is. But finding that loving, unconditional parenting God, that's the one we all want to find. And I think that that's kind of what you kind of want to find. And when you start seeking God, you're going to find him in your own way. And I think eventually all those roads are kind of eventually lead to where you're at, where you found God. You've built a relationship with God. You believe in something again. And then you just kind of help other people as they go. And you don't pressure them. You don't control them. You don't force them into it. You just give them the medicine that they need. You do it in a very nice, gentle way. You kind of say, hey, that's not the way. You know, I think you got this one wrong. And everybody's entitled to their own thing. I don't think I have it so perfect that, you know, you should. But the way that you handle it, the way that you address it, you do it when people are ready, okay? That's when you help people. You don't come over to some person and say, this is the way it needs to be. You gotta do it this way. I am telling you what to do. And maybe some people want that. And that's a lesson in discernment too. You know, maybe some people do want to be told exactly what. But there are plenty of people that don't necessarily, and they want to come to their own conclusion and they want to learn on their own terms. So, you know, that's what I'm saying. Be wise. Even if you do have something for people, don't force it on them, okay? That doesn't help anybody either, in my opinion. That's not the way to do it. That's saying that I'm better than you, I have the answers, and you need to hear it this way. And maybe they don't even need to, maybe that way doesn't work for them. Do you know what I'm saying? And now you're giving them some kind of a limiting belief in their life, and then, you know, it makes it even harder for them to find God later. So you got to be careful with the way that you address these things. And, okay, so let me think here for just a few seconds, if you don't mind. Just sit with me in silence here. I just want to think if I'm missing anything and decide if there's anything else I'd like to say. Otherwise, we might wrap this video up. So just give me a moment here. Let me think. We talked about a lot of the things that I think I would have wanted to hear, and we talked about the relationship you build. We talked about faith. We talked about how to kind of see God in more than one way, signs, symbols, patterns, how to find him in nature, how to find him in a lot of different ways. We talked about the different pathways. And we talked about the confusing stages of those pathways and kind of what they look like. Boy, I think we did a really good job of painting a picture of God. At least a good kind of skeleton or a divine body of kind of, and then you're allowed to kind of put your own pieces into that. Kind of just giving you this bigger framework. There's just so much. But I think that this does a really good job of kind of giving that, at least a good starting point. And then from there, it's just trusting and following that path. Follow it through. The number one thing I'm going to say here is just plant that seed that you're going to seek God and water it. And sometimes it's okay to walk away for a while. That's again that unconditional part with the parent of God, that it's okay to turn your back for a little while. Maybe not fully, always have that seed in your back pocket or in the back of your mind that you're always going to want to seek God. But there's a time and a place where your suffering is going to be so high that you're going to question God. I think everybody does that at some point, and they walk away, and sometimes they never walk back. And I think that's the big picture. It's okay to get off that path for a little while, to need to experience life, to learn more things, to kind of wait until the season's right, the time's right. And then, but always, always come back to God. That's all I'm going to say. And if you can just plant that seed in the back of your head, always want to return to God, even when things are really hard, even when you don't understand the lesson he's trying to teach you, or the suffering, even when it's at the highest. I mean, even when you're broken, when you're angry, when life is just really tossing thing after thing after thing after thing on you. And those are the times that you're going to crack and become more vulnerable. And they're going to wear you down and make you more receptive to the lessons. We get such a bandwidth for the capacity to suffer that, sometimes it takes a lot of pressure to crack you open and make you start to say, hey, maybe I'm not in control here. Maybe I do need to really start seeing things. So those seasons, even though you might not want to believe it, they're blessings. They're honestly blessings. And you're usually going to see that in hindsight, not while you're going through the suffering, because you get so fixated on the suffering that you don't see what it's really doing for you. And I found that to be true even in my hardest seasons, even when I walked away for years and I wasn't sure if I ever wanted to come back, and I was ready to just give up and just, I didn't know that I'd ever find God ever again. And so never give up. That's all I'm going to say. It's okay to walk away for a little while, but come back, baby. All right, guys, I just want to give you guys one more quick clip here on the control thing. I think that that's an important concept, and one that I don't want to take too lightly, because I know how much I struggled with that. There's so many different ways you can twist what control means, what it doesn't mean, when to give it up, when to use discernment, when to take control. So I just want to give you guys a quick kind of an idea of kind of how I see control from a more well-rounded version. So let me just kind of rant through it real quick here, because I don't want to hold you guys up anymore. I know I'm kind of trying to close this video, so I do apologize, but I think it's important context, and I think it's something that maybe is worth adding here. So I feel like control is a tricky concept for intellectuals and spiritualists. So I wanted to add some much needed balancing context on the way I mention it here for clarity. And naturally, I am reading this because I wanted to make sure that this was done well. So I believe in co-creation, which means you are working with God. There's a time to give up control on your life, and the way you force things or results in a way to trust God and allow things to happen. That is an Eastern concept there for anybody that's catching that. That's going with the flow. And while this may appear to be a direct contradiction, I also believe there's a time to take control too. And it will feel like a tug of war for a while until you find that balance. Knowing when to realize you're pushing too hard and trying to control things without even considering God's help or the universe's natural flow and direction of your life, purposes and mission, etc. It's easy to forget that there's an entire world of people that are also trying to live in this system with you and have their own lives, their own ideas, dreams, and plans and purposes, and also need to work together to create within this world. So sometimes it's not all about you, and understanding that the world and God need to move things around and align things to make your dreams a reality, and also working with other people's dreams and aspirations without clashing. Timing matters, and understanding when to try to take control of your life and give up that control comes down to paying attention, realizing that some obstacles in your path are trying to help you slow down and pump your brakes or see things differently so that you can move more freely and maybe even be more flexible and shift gears onto something else that requires your energy and focus. So learn how to work with God and the universe and know when to take control and when to give it up and surrender so that things can work out the way you want them to without you trying to force it in the way you think is best. So just keep that in mind. I think that that's really important concept there. I know I kind of jammed that in at the end. That's a great one to sit with too, with co-creation and kind of understanding how you're aligning with everybody else in the world as well as God. So you got to understand there's a lot in play there, a lot of complexity, a lot of people that have their own ideas of how things should go. And you're all kind of playing one big chess game together spiritually so that we can all create something together as one big team. And of course, God's there too. And there's an intelligent designer, or however you kind of want to see that. There's that background piece there of intelligence that's also helping make this all happen. So just keep that in mind. All right, guys, let's get to the point where we're going to wrap this up. All right. Okay, that's all I got. I think that that's pretty good. This is a good start here. For anybody that has stuck around this long, I hope that this brought some value to you. And I'm going to say this. Please leave comments. Tell me what you think. I am happy to refine some of this stuff. I'm happy to go into more detail on this stuff, on some of this stuff. But if you're on this channel and you're watching this channel, you're probably going to see me expanding on a lot of these things that I talk about already. And yeah, so leave comments. Let me know what you think. Be respectful. I'm really trying to help people here, genuinely. So I am happy to clarify things. I'm happy to do extra videos. I'm happy to expand on ideas. I'm happy to polish ideas. You're getting this all raw. I mean, I'm sharing what I got for you, what I've learned, and I'm doing it the best I can. So there's still work to be done. My voice is still maturing, and I'm doing the best I can out here. So that being said, I hope that this has brought you guys some value. And that's all I got. That's all I got on this one. So I hope that this helps. Let me know if it doesn't. And otherwise, good luck out there, guys. I love all of you. I appreciate you guys being here. And I'm happy to help you guys with your life, with God, with anything that you guys are struggling with. I am happy to help within integrating that in your life and you reaching the best possible person you can possibly be in your life. I'm here for all of that. All right, guys. Thanks for being here. I'll catch you guys on the next one.